I'll never back down. I'll never back down. I'll never back down. I get up when I'm bleeding, ready, breathing. I'll never back down.
This is the collision of common sense and comedy. This is Defenders Live.
God, I love starting late. It's always fun. Welcome to the show, everybody. It has been a day. It has been a day. So let's just dive into this because, again, I'm running behind, and I'm sure there's one person out there who's, upset. But let's go ahead. We're going to start off with this fun little tidbit. So the Food and Drug Administration has announced it has relaxed even further restrictions placed on gay men who want to donate blood, and it seems that the American Red Cross couldn't be happier. The American Red Cross, in cooperation with the LGBTQ LMNOP Team Member Resource Group, issued a statement celebrating the FDA's decision. Quote, "The Red Cross celebrates the elimination of blood donation policies that are based on sexual orientation and also recognizes that there's more work to be done to make blood donation more inclusive." End quote. I read this and I couldn't let it go. I couldn't. There's more work to be done to make blood donations more inclusive. Blood donations. Let me back this up a little bit. Blood donations were never an inclusive, exclusive thing, not from the angle that they're implying. Okay? It wasn't that the LGBT community were something, to be, it wasn't because of their lifestyle choice, but yet it was. It was not because of their lifestyle choice. It's because that their lifestyle choice puts them at a higher risk for disease. That was the reason for the exclusion. It was just easier instead of going through, months and months of testing or, standbys or whatever. It was just easier to say, and nix it. Just say, you can't do it. If this is your lifestyle, no. Had nothing to do with whether someone agreed with the lifestyle. That wasn't the thing. It was for health purposes. Because the point of the Red Cross is to help. Blood donations is supposed to be someone is in need of blood and, I have donated. Therefore, it will save a life. Well, how does it save a life if said blood is tainted with some kind of a disease that's not checked, it's not cleared? I don't know, like the HIV or the AIDS or something to that effect. But we're not done. The blood donation process is now more inclusive because men who've had sex with men, abbreviated in the FDA documents as MSM, may be eligible to donate so long as they've remained monogamous for the past 3 months. Women who have sex with MSM must satisfy similar stipulations. Now, remember that MSM inclines men having sex with women. So I guess they're referring to basically bisexual people, I guess. Anyway, quote, all prospective donors who report having a new sexual partner or more than one sexual partner in the past 3 months and doing of certain other things in the rectal area, anyway, would be deferred to reduce the likelihood of donations by individuals with new or recent HIV infection who may be in the window period for detection of HIV by nucleic acid testing, blah, blah, blah. That was according to the FDA. But they're not requiring, like, proof. If you say, hey, I am a man who sleeps with other men, and I've been with this person, there's no actual paper trail. There's no proof. There's no back checking. There's no stuff. It's purely off of their word. So that doesn't do anything. Anyway, though the FDA statement implies that some homosexual behaviors carry increased risk of infection, many supposed health experts have implied that previous bans on blood donations from gay men were the result of anti-gay bigotry. And again, it was only gay men. If you were a gay woman, they obviously wouldn't care. They would take your blood to it, much faster. So how is that anti-gay bigotry? Because my understanding is a woman loving a woman is gay. So, several years ago, Perry N. Helktis, the dean of the School of Public Health at Rutgers University, claimed that the ban on gay men was, quote, rooted in homophobia, end quote. A connotation that seems to be supported by the American Red Cross. Quote, the Red Cross also recognizes the hurt that this previous policy has caused, and that these are just the first steps in repairing relationships with the broader LGBTQ plus community. Again, the point of the American Red Cross and blood donations is to help save a life. If your lifestyle, and it doesn't even have to be about sex, okay? If you have a lifestyle that has put you at risk for cancer or something else, you kind of should be, there should be a real screening test, my brain says. You go in and you get work done or whatever, and you get screened to make sure that you don't have these things and nothing comes up and blah, 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 and then you go and do it. Wouldn't that fix the whole problem? But no, everything has to be about, oh, you're hurting my feelings or you're against my group or na. And now the American Red Cross is more inclusive because blood donations were strictly being held against people because of anti-gay bigotry. The FDA and the American Red Cross both insisted that the new relaxed measures will not pose a risk to public health. The FDA promised to continue evaluating the safety of donated blood after the measures are put into place. Quote, all patients should feel comfortable and trust that the blood they receive is safe. However, it seems the American Red Cross has perhaps already belied its reputation as a trustworthy organization, offering emergency medical services rooted in experience and scientific experimentation. For some time now, the American Red Cross has been asking prospective blood donors to self-identify their gender. Since, according to the group anyway, quote, There is a difference between biological sex and gender. Therefore, in accordance with the FDA regulations, gender must be, quote, self-identified and self-reported by the donors themselves, according to the American Red Cross. They also said, quote, our employees and volunteers are trained to be sensitive to the needs of all potential blood donors, end quote. The point of donating blood, my understanding, was you're supposed to be doing a good thing. You're wanting to help, people. You want to help your fellow man in a crisis, in a situation. If you are a gay man that decides to self-identify as a woman, and your current lifestyle is one with a proclivity of again, engaging in the male-on-male sex, which has therefore put you at a higher risk for disease, HIV among the top. How can you then sit there and feel comfortable and trust that the blood that you receive is okay? I don't. We're living in a society, in a world where apparently you can be anything you want to be except for intelligent. Because there is no intelligence in any of this. Facts, concrete stability, all of this is starting to quickly go out the window. And we're entering into a place where literally, if we could sum it up in one word, it'd be fluid. Everything is fluid. There is no facts. There is no up. There is no down. There is no black. There is no white. There's no light. There's no dark. It's whatever you want it to be. So there you go. I would be very careful next time you have to get blood donations of any kind. Because you never know what you may be picking up. The Los Angeles Department of Transportation recently released a draft plan. Because, L.A. is a rather large city. Very big place. Covers a vast area. And it's not just the amount of people that live in the area. It's the distance. It's the square mileage and all that crapola. It's a big place. It's a lot to cover. A lot of ground to cover. Cops can't be everywhere at one time. They can't. They can only do so much. And what with the state of California already trying to possibly pay out reparations like it's doing and everything, but that's a whole different stuff for another day. They can't really afford to keep adding on more police officers. So they come up with an ingenious plan, at least a draft of a plan anyway, to have unarmed civilians enforce traffic laws instead of the Los Angeles Police Department. The draft report, obtained by the Los Angeles Times, has been in work for nearly 3 years. Three years. Now, I will say I have never personally tried to draft a plan or a bill or anything like this. So I truly have no idea the hoops that must be jumped through. I don't know what it takes to create this, if we're going to be completely honest. However, I don't think in my brain that it should take 3 years. Maybe I'm nuts. I don't know. The outline of the plan to curb reckless driving and reduce traffic-related deaths by creating narrower streets, bike lanes, and pedestrian crosswalks. Did you catch? Okay. Narrower. That means smaller. Okay? If you have people who are having a problem keeping it in the line, the size it currently is, what the hell makes you think it's going to work if you shrink that a little bit? If you move the target and make it just a tad smaller? Because that's how it works, right? If you're at the gun range and you're aiming for the target and your specific shot and you're at 50 yards and you don't hit it. You spend an hour and about $300 worth of ammunition and you still can't hit the target. We all know that the right thing to do then at that point is to move the target further back so it gets smaller, right? That'll work. That'll, and then you will hit the target every time. Additionally, it called for civilians to conduct traffic stops instead of police officers. In 2022, 312 people were killed in traffic collisions, up 5% compared to 2021, according to LAPD data. Just a little tidbit, though. 2021, the reason why it's up, and no one wants to talk about this, I don't think. I mean, it might be further in all this, I hint at it, but 2021 was kind of height of shutdown. COVID. California especially was like the worst of it all. So of course there were less people driving. Anyway, according to the plan, measures will, quote, naturally slow the flow of traffic and discourage drivers from speeding or breaking other road laws. Here's the deal. And this is me talking for myself. Police officers, especially in major cities, but police officers are trained. They're trained to handle a myriad of situations, including, not limited to, driving. Did you know that? Cops are trained to drive. Cops go through courses and little thing like that, road courses. Then you do test driving. That here's how you handle a car better in a situation, because there's points where a vehicle may end up in a situation where they have to drive really fast. They have to chase someone, what have you, and they need to learn how to do it safely to not only be safe for the people around them, but for themselves too, because you can't catch a criminal in a high-speed chase if you're dead or up a tree in your car, So they're trained. The average person, their training is limited to about 2 weeks of driver's ed at the age of 16 to 18 or whatever the junk is now. Okay? There's no extra training. There's no extra, training. I already said it. To give them a skill and a knowledge base of how to properly handle a vehicle in a certain situation, like cops do. So let's just say for a moment that LA goes and does this. This goes through. LA has their own police force, or not police force. They just dump the traffic laws off onto somebody else. And let's say that, you're driving down the highway and you don't use your blinker when you change lanes. Well, now somebody's going to come up behind you and start hollering at you, because you can't have lights. You can't do any of that, because then you're impersonating a police officer. That's a whole different thing. You think the first person's going to stop for just a regular person, for another quote-unquote citizen? Albeit it has been tarnished a lot lately. They've been trying to destroy it for several years, but A police uniform and a police car, we've been taught since children, holds a certain level of authority. Okay? Old Lady Perkins in her Prius doesn't hold that. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? And then I don't know if anybody's thought about this yet, but there's also the chance. This is LA they're talking about, okay? LA. How do you know that the person who's trying to pull you over and trying to uphold said traffic law is not actually trying to, I don't know, kidnap you, rob you, commit another crime? How would it be known that that's what was happening until it happened? I don't know. The LAPD previously scaled back quote unquote pretextual stops, a practice used to pull over individuals for minor traffic violations to search for evidence of more severe crimes, including getting guns and drugs off the streets. Well, there's your first problem right there, LA. You handle it. If the person is committing a crime, then you deal with that crime. And if you happen to stumble on something else, then you stumble on it. You don't actively go looking. You dunce. The report called for these stops to be further restricted after a Times investigation claimed Black and Latino drivers were pulled over at a higher rate than white drivers. I'm not even. Damien Cavett, Executive Director of Streets Are For Everyone, an organization dedicated to reducing traffic fatalities, told the Times, quote, "As a city, we get an F on our traffic for the amount of traffic violations and our ability to curb serious fatalities and injuries. I understand we have an ongoing housing crisis. I don't disagree that we're prioritizing that. But we also have a public health traffic violence crisis." End quote. The police department expressed interest in having another agency take over traffic violation enforcement. And again, of course they would be. LA, again, is very big. It's very vast. It's spread out. Who wants to drive in a giant chunk and just do no. No. I wouldn't. And what? Again, look at it this way. LA will still get the same funding and do less work. Duh. Yeah, take it off my hands, please. LAPD Chief Michael Moore said, quote, "If DOT," that would be the Los Angeles Department of Transportation, "were to pick that work up, I think we'd welcome it." I'm sure you would, pumpkin. According to the U.S. Department of Justice report titled "Making It Safer: Study in Law Enforcement Fatalities Between 2010 and 2016. Traffic stops were, quote, "the most common self-initiated accident that led to officer fatalities." It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that when you are on a busy highway and the car pulls over to the side, you are at risk. So I understand where that comes from. But again, a regular quote-unquote citizen is not going to be able to hold any kind of a sway or power to get someone else that's also quote-unquote a regular citizen to pull over. Sure as hell ain't going to listen to him. Again, Karen can pull me over all she wants to. I'm not listening to her. I don't think anybody would. And you're just asking for it because, again, you're opening up the door to an opportunity for other kinds of crimes and violence. It's all done and shrouded under, well, it was a traffic stop. Sure it was. Sure it was. Y'all don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. We're going to be right back.
In today's troubled world, our USA Armed Forces stand ready to protect you, your family, and our American way of life. When veterans return to civilian life, they deserve your recognition and support. You can help put vets to work by donating your car, truck, or van to Patriotic Hearts. Your donation will directly support programs to help vets find jobs or even start their own business. Donate today for fast, free pickup of your vehicle, running or not. Operators are standing by to answer questions about making a tax-deductible vehicle donation. Find out how you can make a difference in the life of a United States veteran. Call 800-209-6482 for 24-hour response. Call 800-209-6482. 800-209-6482. That's 800-209-6482.
This is Defenders Live.
Follow us on all the social medias at DOAE Show. Use the hashtag arm yourselves. Do us a favor, and wherever you are seeing / hearing this, please do us a favor and like it and share it and comment. And I don't care what the comment says. You could tell me to go, fornicate with myself or something. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. Just do it. Like it, don't like it. Make sure everyone knows. If you think it's a bad show, and I'm truly okay with this. If you think this is a horrible, sad, pathetic type show, then follow the rules of the internet. If you have seen it / heard it, then someone else has to. Follow the rules, people. That's all I'm saying. Just follow the rules. So, I didn't want to talk about this, but somehow or another, I've roped myself, and I'm not still clear how, but whatever. In case you haven't heard, apparently Charlize Theron has decided that she's going to whoop your ass. She said it. She's going to whoop anyone's ass. Threatens anyone. Who criticizes drag queens. Who puts on shows for children. The Oscar-winning actress made the jarring proclamation. Words are hard. During the, quote, drag isn't dangerous telethon. Described as a, quote, a night of entertainment, pure queer joy to combat recent anti-LGBTQ legislation across the country. First off, I didn't know there was a telethon. I didn't know telethons existed anymore. I really didn't. I thought that we were in the age of GoFundMe and, what's the other one? Skip my mind. But anyway, the GoFundMe world where now it's done privately through an app and you do donation. Like it's still considered a telethon, but it's not telethon because it's not on television. It's more of an internetathon, an interthon. That's weird. Anyway, the telethon raised more than $585,000. The GoFundMe campaign said the beneficiary of the crowdfunding push was Black Queer Town Hall, a self-described, quote, nonprofit organization led by Peppermint and Bob the Drag Queen that is committed to celebrating Black queer excellence by supporting and cultivating community and sharing knowledge, uplifting voices. I want to, if you didn't catch that, I know it stuck out to me and I'm the weird one here. You realize that committed to celebrating Black queer excellence and supporting cultivating community, you realize that that's virtually the same thing they say during Black History Month, except for they just added queer to it. The fundraiser featured celebrities such as Jesse Eisenberg, Amy Schumer, can you call her? Leslie Jones, Margaret Cho, Sarah Silverman, Marcia Gay Harden. I'm going to leave the jokes alone on that one. They kind of write themselves. The actress, Miss Gay Harden, said during the telethon, quote, "What drives me is because it's right. What's happening right now is wrong. What drives me is my children are all queer. My eldest child is non-binary. My son is gay. My youngest is fluid. They are my kids, and they teach me every day." End quote. I'm going to save what I need to stick for this, but later. But Charlize Theron declared during the telethon, quote, "We love you, Queens. We're in your corner. We've got you. And I will F anybody up who is like trying to F with anything with you guys." End quote. First off, I'm not scared. I mean, if you feel froggy, pumpkin, wherever you, by all means. Secondly, why? Quote, "It's really in all seriousness. There's so many things that are hurting and really killing our kids. We all know what I'm talking about right now, and it ain't no drag queen. Because if you've ever seen a drag queen lip sync for her life, it only makes you happier. It only makes you love more, makes you a better person." End quote. That was the rest of her comment, by the way. First off, to address the comment, no, I really don't know what you're talking about. She says that it really is all seriousness. There are things that are hurting. Many things that are hurting. Things that are hurting and really killing our kids. Name one. And seeing as how this is, about drag queens and all of this other stuff, let's keep it in that context. What about keeping our children from seeing a drag show is killing our kids? Okay? What about keeping them from going down a lifestyle that they don't fully understand? making drastic, irreversible changes to their bodies. How is that killing your children? I don't know. Understand that one, Pumpkin. And just to continue on to pick apart your statement there, Miss Charlize Theron. Quote, because if you've ever seen a drag queen lip sync for her life, I don't know what that means. Like, when I read it up to that point, up to that comma, I hear it as in, if this person doesn't do it, something bad will happen to them. I don't know. Obviously don't think that's what it's meant. I think it was more like, if you ever see a drag queen lip sync the hardest they've ever done, you know what I mean? As it put their heart and soul into it. Maybe that's what they mean. I'm assuming that's what she means, but that doesn't sound like, every time I read it, and maybe it's my brain tumor, ADHD, I don't know, that keeps me from thinking that, but whatever. Anyway, if you see that happen, it only makes you happier. It only makes you love more. And it makes you a better person. End quote. I've been, in my younger, wilder years, have been to events of drag shows. I've been to things of that nature. I've seen this happen, and it's all over the internet. It's like it's being forced on us now. I see it all now. I would have to disagree with you, Miss Theron. I really do, because it never makes me happy. It doesn't. It doesn't make me happy. It doesn't make me love more. And it doesn't make me a better person. Okay? Up until this forcing onto children, that this attack on our kids, when drag shows and everything else was purely, as an adult, was purely adult themed, was purely up in the adult world. If that's your cup of tea, cool. You know, I went to these things because I went with friends who were into those things, and I just wanted to get drunk. I didn't care about anything else. But now you're forcing it on these kids. I want to scroll down here. Talk about the fact that Charlize Theron adopted a kid, a 3-year-old boy from South Africa named Jackson, in 2012. However, she announced in 2019 that Jackson is actually a girl. This is her quote. "Yes, I thought she was a boy too, until she looked at me when she was 3 years old and said, 'I'm not a boy.' So there you go. I have 2 beautiful daughters who, just like any parent, want to protect and I want to see thrive." She added, quote, "They were born who they are, exactly where in the world both of them get to find themselves as they grow up, and who they want to be is not for me to decide." You're a parent. Children come into the world literally knowing nothing. Do you understand that, Miss Theron? They know nothing. They truly know nothing about the extent of it. When they're born, is they know to cry to get attention, and then at that point, it's up to the adult to figure out, based off scheduling or whatever or timing, that the adult is aware of, that the child is not, to fulfill said child's needs. If you neglect a child, if you take a baby and other than just do the basics, feed it and change it and you do nothing else, zero communication, zero upbringing of anything whatsoever, okay? That child will never learn to walk, will never learn to crawl, then walk, will never learn to speak, will never learn to grab things with their hands, will never be able to use their appendages as they were designed, okay? Children are taught. Okay? You can't sit here and just like whatever this dunce said earlier, Harden, saying how her kids teach her something new every day because they've decided they're this, that, and the other. No. Your children are ignorant. Your children have no idea what's going on. Your children look to you to guide them. Okay? And you have failed them. Anybody who doesn't look at their child when they come up with something, and I'm talking even in the teenage years. If you don't look at your child when they come up to you and say, Mom, Dad, I'm not really, insert whatever, opposite to gender that they are. Or I'm non-binary or whatever. They start buying into this crap. Okay? If you as a parent don't nip that in the bud, don't say, no, you're not. And guide and do whatever that a parent is supposed to do to keep them on track. Because all this is a fad, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, this is a fad. A very dangerous one. It's a fad that is for some reason, I don't know how it took off, but it did. This whole being trans, this whole I'm not who I am, and blah, blah, blah. There is no reason why a child between birth, 18 years old, should know anything about sex other than outside of the learning as maybe in high school of learning about procreation. That's it. This whole social construct BS of, there's this gender and that gender and this sexual preference and that sexual preference, that should never, ever be entered into it because a child between birth and 18 years old is still a child. Even at 18, you're still considered a child, but for some god-awful reason, the government has decided that, no, we're going to count that as an adult. Okay. Fine. They're an adult. At that point, getting up to that age, then a lot of it will start being feelings anyway. As a parent, your job is to guide. Your job is to teach them. Your job is to say, because I'm going to pose this. And as dumb as this is going to sound, and a lot of people who are against, are all for this whole trans and drag queens and sexualizing of our children, we're all pro that, like Charlize Theron. If your child looks at you dead in the face and says, I'm not a boy or a girl, I'm not a person, I'm a car, and attempts to go run out into the highway, are you just going to go, oh, well, I just learned something new every day? No, you're going to try and stop them. Why? Because it is dangerous. It is going to hurt them. They could die. Forget the fact that it's not true. That's a whole different kind of conversation alone. The path that they are chosen as a child, as an ignorant child, is dangerous. And it is your job as the quote-unquote intelligent one in the room to let them know that. If you're not doing that, then you have failed. Your job as a parent is not to be their friend. Okay? Now, I could start quoting the Bible and everything where it says that, you're not supposed to intentionally anger your children and be a douche and blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, you are also supposed to raise them. They're not going to like it sometimes. Okay? Nobody likes to be told that they're wrong. No one likes to be told they can't do something that they think they want to do. Nobody likes that. But you know what? It ends up being for the better good. That's your job as a parent. Not to be their friend. Not to give them what they want when they want. Not to entertain the asinine things that come out of their mouth. I mean, if a 3-year-old child has enough intelligence, enough, I don't know what other words to use. It has the ability. Is if it is understood at this point that a child at 3 years old has the ability to make that kind of a declaration, a 3-year-old child can decide that a middle-aged doctor who spent years and tons of money on medical training and can go against that and say, no, doc, you're wrong. I'm not a boy. I'm a girl. Then why are there still so many crimes? Why can you still get in trouble as for hurting a child? Not that I want to see that done. I don't want any of those to go away, just so we're crystal clear. But if a child has that ability to make those kinds of decisions and everything else, then why, if I was to decide one day to literally just abandon my child, just walk away at 5, 6, 7 years old, whatever. If they can make those kinds of decisions, if they have the intellectual fortitude to be able to go that route on their own because they know, then why in the hell am I going to get in trouble? I'm just curious. Because it would seem to me that's a little unfair. Now, no one should abandon their child like that, and I don't ever don't want to. Sometimes I'll admit they've crossed my mind occasionally, but you end up realizing you love them too much. But history is going to look back on the parents of this generation, the one coming up, these kids. Eventually, if humanity and the world make it, about 2-3 generations from now, they're going to look back and be seen and understood as the worst generation, the worst group of society since, slavery, ancient Roman times, blah, 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 insert horrible thing here. And it's true. Because we've taken facts and said there are no facts. We've taken structure, we've taken stability, we've taken truth and said there is none. It is whatever you want it to be. The world doesn't thrive. The world doesn't move. The world doesn't work in fluidity. It just doesn't. Forget society, okay? The natural world abides within the constraints and confines of law. There are laws. There are things that every creature and being in existence has to abide by. So why is it that when it comes to society, we just decided that that doesn't apply there? That it's okay? That can be a spot where there are no rules. Oh, I mean, there are rules. Don't get me wrong. There's rules that you can't say or do anything against a certain group because it's a hate crime. A New York City homeless man was charged with multiple hate crimes for the offense of defecating on an LGBTQ flag. Long or the short from when I got through this is he went to a spot. There was a store owner that was very much a Biden gay-friendly place. That's fine. The guy's name was Fred Innocent. A 45-year-old homeless man is accused of taking 2 flags off the table at Bucchio 95 in the Upper West Side at about 10 a.m. on April 15th. Innocent was reportedly caught in the restaurant surveillance cameras defecating on a flag and then wiping his rear end with the other one. No, I don't know why he did it on the one. I don't think it was necessarily to be a joke. Part of the reason why I wanted to read it was because of the fact that his last name is Innocent and he's in trouble for committing a crime. That just made me giggle. That and the fact that it was considered a hate crime for pooping on a flag. How is it a crime? I'm genuinely curious about this. How can you say that it is a crime to, let's just say, deface an a gay flag? Okay? Why is that a crime? But it's not a crime to do that to the American flag, the nation's flag. I'm just curious. And I don't want to hear the stupid excuses of, well, you know, the white supremacy from the beginning of the slavery was going on. No. No. Why is it okay to do whatever you want to the American flag, but you will be charged with a hate crime if you do it to the gay flag? I'll wait. Because from where I'm sitting, as long as the nation's flag, whatever rules apply to that, that's what goes with the rest of them. If you're going to take a different flag or a different situation or what have you, and you're going to say that this one you have to respect, this one you have to do this with, these are the, you keep it up on this pedestal, the American flag, this nation's flag, it's whatever. Then you're doing it wrong. Because if you're going to hold up a lifestyle over a nation, in my humble opinion, especially America, who's supposed to be the embodiment of different lifestyles. And it's insane to me. It really is insane. This guy is going to get it. New York State defines a hate crime as, quote, traditional offenses that is motivated by bias, where a person commits a specified set of crimes, quote, targeting a victim because of perception or belief about their race, color, national origin, ancestry, gender, religion, religious practice, age, disability, or sexual orientation, or when such an act is committed as a result of that type of perception or belief. End quote. Translation, pretty much anything. Like, I've not been quiet about this. Like, everybody at this point, if you've listened anytime before, you know, to me, the idea of a hate crime is asinine. Okay? Because one, it's thrown around, especially nowadays, it's being thrown around way too much as a end all be all. Well, it's not just the murder, it must be, race related, so it's a hate crime. No. You're assuming intent. Now, if you come into a situation where somebody gets murdered and they say, I did it because he's black, that obviously there's a bias, okay? And the only thing at that point we can do is go, well, Now we've got one less white supremacist on there. You know what I mean? One less hateful bastard on the thing. That's it. That you can't extra punish them because it's a hate thing. Wrong should be wrong, and it doesn't matter what your color or religion or sexual orientation or ancestry or any of that other crap is. If wrong is not wrong enough in its own thing, then what's the point? Follow us on all social medias at DOA Show. Thank you for hanging out with me. I appreciate it. Wherever you see or hear this, please share it, spread it around. The more we can get that spread out, the more that people we get into this, eventually I might go back to daily. I know there are some people who are actually excited and like that idea. Others, probably not so much. But help us out if you can. Share it with your friends, your neighbors, people you love, people you hate. We'll see y'all next week. Bye, y'all.